Process capability analysis in WATS is a tool to help you better understand how good test coverage you have for each test steps and how well your test limits are performing when compared to the underlying variations of your test measurements. So if you look at a simple example here where the red lines are the test limits that you operate with, the example on the top with high CPK or process capability index comes when you have a high ratio between these test limits and the standard deviations of your measurements. But in the example below, where you have a low ratio between these, you will also get a lower CPK, process capability index. So if you look at this in WATS with the process capability analysis reports that can be accessed here under the yield reports, it will show you first a list of all the applicable products for your filter. So in this case, I'm only looking at the OLC 130P product, so this is the only one that is given here. You can also tag some favorite CPK values. They will be shown here: CPK1, CPK2, CPK3, and so forth. And these favorite CPK can also be shown on the dashboard in WATS. But if we scroll further down here, this report will also give you a list of each and every numerical test step that you have. And on the first column here, CPK, so this is the process capability index for each and every measurement within the selected time frame for these steps. The red lines, the red numbers indicates that the ratio between the test limits and the standard deviations are small, so that you might have test limits that are too tight, or you might have a process that is a little bit unstable or too high variations. If it is a green number, it can be indicative that you have a good ratio, but it could also be phenomena that are cancelling each other out. And you can also have a blue number, so that would be a very high ratio. And that would typically be indicative of test limits that are too wide. So if we look a little bit to the right here, to column number 5, you have the CPK without failed. So when we exclude all the measurements that we know are flagged as failed in the test reports, how does the CPK value look like? And there you have some blue numbers. So like this measure isolated 12 volt step, it has a CPK value of 8.18, meaning that it's potentially that you have outlier measurements or larger deviations that are not being detected by the test limits. So if I want to investigate this further, I can click directly on the magnifying glass here, and it will open up the step details report, so where we can see the actual measurements themselves. So if I scroll a little bit down, then you can see the red lines are the test limits that you have. The light blue lines are the measurements, and the dark blue lines are 3 standard deviations for the data set that we are currently looking at. Now if I toggle off this switch over here, failed measurements, we're going to filter away the ones that are flagged as failed. And you can immediately see, number one is that the 3 standard deviations dropped significantly. And the CPK value that we calculate is actually the ratio between this range and the range between the test limits. But more importantly, there are several measurements here that are clearly standing out as far away from the average that are not being picked up on by the test limits. So if I want to understand Like what are did these units fail in another test, for example? I can click on it and it will open up the UUT report or test report for that particular unit. First, it will highlight the step that we have. I can scroll up here as well, and I can look at the overall test status for this unit is passed. So there was no other test that captured this failure. I can click on the serial number itself here to open up the serial number history for this unit. And if I look down here, you can see, so this is the serial number itself. It's first tested in a PCBA test, and that is the data that I was looking at. But later it has been tested in a final function test here as a subunit. So it's a part of a different product. And then later it has also been tested in an RMA test. So it's a product that has been returned by a customer where it has failed.